Hello and welcome to the Animation Kimmunication podcast, your source for discussion about animation, film, fandom, and more. So please join your host, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, or KP, and Lauren Kizich, the Abbey Roadie, for today's discussion. If you like what you hear, please remember to support by giving a like, a follow, as well as subscribing to the main I Love Kim Possible a Lot channel on YouTube. Spread the word and keep being a part of a great community. This episode contains heavy adult language and is not appropriate for young children. Can't.
For those of you who are new to the show and or don't know what we're going to be talking about today, I have been, and Lauren's in it too. Say hi, Lauren.
Hi, I'm here.
Okay, so this is a My Little Pony Brony theme project that I have been a part of for a long time called TF2 Analysis Anarchy. And what that is TF2 is a video game that is popular on the internet. And there's like two teams, and they have different classes, and the classes like
red versus blue. You got your different team members. It's like chess, but more deaf.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's a good way to put it. So you have different roles, and people do different things. And so for this project, what they do is they take the backgrounds from the game and they put people's ponysonas, so like people as ponies. I'm so sorry if you're not a brony. This sounds like probably the stupidest fucking thing in the world. Anyway, so they take the pony avatars, so the arts of like people as ponies in the TF2 outfit. So like it's TF2 Scout Pony or TF2 Heavy Pony or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then they keyframe them, so they're not animated, but they keyframe them with different talking positions, and then they build scripts on top of that. So all the the cast interact, and they're like doing things, and that's the base of the project. And it's been going on for several years, and it's popular because a lot of the subset of the Brony community called the Brony Analysis community, which is a fancy way of saying the reviewing community, essentially, that I've been a part in on and off. I do pony videos sometimes now, so I'm technically, I guess, a part of that community. And then I would, for panels, we'd have all the pony people on the panels, and we'd answer questions about YouTube and stuff like that. So a lot of the other people that make YouTube videos reviewing the My Little Pony show, or analyzing specific aspects, so analyzing characters and shit or whatever, they all like write themselves in as their pony characters, and they do like specific plots. So is that a good way to describe it, Lauren?
Yeah, that's about it. So it's basically taking the analysis community, our figureheads more or less, that are a part of it, and taking their avatars and putting them into TF2 roles on the two respective teams of red and blue. And shenanigans happen. I mean, we have skits, but we also have overarching storylines that thread through them. So it's almost like how you can have like a TV show with that isn't exactly like each episode is part of a sequential series of events, but there kind of sort of is something that threads them all together. And then when you look at the bigger story, especially when you have specials like Red versus Blue, or you have the Seven Nation Army, you have like these big specials that will take all of everything that accumulated over several different skits and smaller videos and put them all together into one big video, and then you see how that's built up to these points. There's plenty of content out there. You just look up, TF2 Analysis Anarchy, Red versus Blue, or Seven Nation Army. Those are the bigger specials. But then you can just look up Team Fortress 2 Analysis Anarchy, and then you got a bunch of these smaller videos where they may introduce new team members. Me too. But anyway.
So if you don't know what our ponysonas look like, I'm the blue one that isn't there sometimes, which is what we'll be talking about. And Lauren is in the recent
ones. And I'm the coffee-colored horse that's in a very, very, the most colorful uniform, because I'm not on red or blue. I'm actually a neutral party that is, I guess, more or less kind of like, if you follow the show, is like Mary Sue, who it plays the announcer. So it's almost like a third party that is involved and fulfills a certain role that isn't specific to red or blue. And so yeah, I'm the spray maker, or pretty much a spray maker. So
What
I
is
basically
that?
make
Like, I don't even know. I don't even know what
spray
you
maker.
do.
I'm an embodiment of the mechanic in the game where you can make tags and stuff, and you can use them during matches. Because my character, how my character is introduced, is that I'm trying to display my sneakiness as a spy to be able to pull stuff off when nobody's looking. But then I realize it's because of my spray skills or my art skills that I'm put as spray maker. So that way it's being able to have a role without having to fill a team slot, which is fine because, I mean, at the time too, only people who really were following what was going on with like keyframe and stuff knew about me, which is, it's kind of funny because I introduced her to the MLP stuff in the first place. So it's kind of like
the circle of life.
It's tit for tat. Yeah. So, okay. But yeah, so now I'm more involved, at least going forward. So there's that. I with saying that without any spoilers. That is really a spoiler-free way of saying it. I will be more involved. You'll be seeing and hearing more of me, I guess.
Yeah, good job. Okay, now on to the main thing of the episode. Welcome to the not fun episode of Animation Kimmunication, like one of two so far, so I'm gonna curse a lot because I don't have any patience for anything anymore. So I'm
Don't worry, we'll slap a disclaimer, our usual disclaimer over this, so
yeah.
So the childrens don't hear.
I don't think there's a lot of children that listen to the podcast anyway, to be real. They're just like
there's a lot of children that shouldn't be on Twitter, but you know, nobody's stopping them.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I don't like anyway, yeah, I don't think like families are sitting down and being like, "Oh, it's Monday, it's time to listen to the KP podcast. Let's gather around, gang." If, you know, if you are, like, let us know. But if not, I imagine it's just one person being like, "This is the best I can do social interaction wise because COVID."
Ooh.
Get your shots if you can get them, please.
Yeah, want to go out into the world and go see everybody, get your shots.
I miss conventions. I miss seeing my friends. I feel like,
dude, me too.
Man, I feel like I've been like in high school purgatory, where like, you know, I'm just here and like, you know, it's weird and hanging out with all the people I used to hang out with in high school because we're all stranded here and I hate it. So welcome to, like I said at the beginning of the Not Fun podcast, where I'm going to explain in excruciating detail why I'm not on TF2 anymore and or the very poor organization that led to that. So
for all the people that ask in the comment section on TF2 videos, where's KP, this is going to be your answer, so everybody
stop
chill.
asking me. It's just been kind of a sore subject because, like, also I have a tendency to give the benefit of the doubt for people who don't really deserve it. So I have been trying to work it out internally the whole time, and it hasn't worked. And I know this would have been embarrassing to be released publicly beforehand. So I was like, okay, it's gonna make you guys look like shit. But, you know, if you're not giving me any other option, and people are hounding me about this answer, and you're not gonna address it in any other way, and treat your viewers like idiots, and not have them notice the obvious thing, then I don't have a choice. So, also, I hate people. So what basically happened is, I guess, from my understanding, I traditionally just did lines for TF2, and I'm not into TF2, the game. I don't really understand it. I have a general knowledge of it, but then people ask me at conventions, and I'm just like, I don't know. Ask someone else. I don't know what a TF2 is. I just know people. I know the assets are open source, so people make animations with them too sometimes.
So in a way you pull a John Delancey with My Little Pony canon.
Yeah, essentially, I'm just here to do the lines, and then I forget about everything after because I'm old. Anyway, so let's see, how do I? Okay, so I heard from sources that like, just by multiple people, that Josh and a couple other people were frustrated by the fact that I wasn't writing scripts. And my big touchstone in all of this is there was no solidified plan in place. And as well as Skype organization just being really shitty, as well as lack of direct confrontation to really solve problems, it was enabling enabling a lot of unhealthy behavior, essentially, by, shielding people from confrontation, even though that doesn't really solve the problem. Like I've said it before in multiple podcasts and in the YouTube videos. It's like, you shouldn't be making YouTube videos if you're afraid of confrontation. You're serving a huge amount of people. There's going to be some miscommunication if you're collaborating with people anyway. It's going to happen. And yeah, I just, again, don't have any patience for any of it. So anyway, so there was also, from my understanding, again, that's my preface, is there was a lot of gossip too, where, people were frustrated that I wasn't writing the scripts. No one ever told me initially. No one ever told me that they wanted to write scripts, and they would gossip and they'd complain about my, like, they would say I'm egotistical and I'm a diva and all this stuff, and like things that your friends shouldn't be doing if those are your friends. And I also realized on hindsight that there was a lot of like not good behavior, and there was a lot of, I'd ask someone for advice as well as all the other people for advice, so I did something that was not the first person's advice, and then they complain about it to other people instead of asking me about it. And that really bothered me. Like, and it really also bothers me after all the shit I've been through that people can't talk to me directly about these problems. Like, I kind of don't feel like Josh and everyone in Silver were really my friends, because they were not talking to me directly, and they were gossiping, and they were calling me all these bad names behind the scenes. And like, what are you doing? Like, you're an adult. Like, I don't understand how this is happening. so yeah, just dealing with that. Again, this is stuff I learned on hindsight. And then eventually, like, Josh told me that people wanted me to write scripts. So I also wasn't aware that script writing was such a problem too. Like, it seemed like between people like Jasper and like other like people that were really enthusiastic about the project, that script writing, like, they wouldn't need script writers. But again, these are not things I know about. And because I'm not active in the Skype group, because, imagine this, someone who's traumatized because of strangers gossiping and, taking things out of context is not going to be in a Skype group with like 20 different strangers. Imagine that. So, I was also not active in the Skype groups. There was no communication whether they wanted me to be on panels. Sometimes there was no clear, like, okay, KP, if you're free, can you be on this panel? Or, I usually wouldn't, because I was doing a bunch of my own panels anyway, and it was just a lot, especially for something I didn't really have much to say about, because again, I don't know much about TF2 and that kind of thing. So, and when I'm running around and doing like, 5 to 7 panels per con, then that's a lot. And, I want to take a break, and I've learned to schedule fewer panels for myself, because that's too many, and I want to die, especially because I'm vending now, or vending's more of my primary thing, and I can't do 7 or 8 panels and vend, because for those who don't know, most of the time when I'm vending, my primary thing I'm selling are commissions, so my art. So that requires me to actually do the commissions. I'm not selling like things that are already pre-made, like t-shirts. I mean, I have t-shirts and buttons and all that shit, but that's not what's the majority of the thing moving. It's the commissions that are moving. So I have to be there to do the commissions and also take people's orders, and also if they want to like have a new commission, they describe it to me. It's complicated, essentially. So So after I talked to Josh the first time, I wrote the episode where I have the Discord powers and Silver Crow dresses up as John Delancey or whatever. So I wrote that one. And then, because we never really established how, like, the structure of my participation, the same thing happened again where I was just doing lines, and I guess they, instead of, same thing happened to me. The same thing happened again. They gossiped. I got mad. They didn't talk to me about it. This is also around the same time I did a mental health video with Lily and Lily Orchard, for those who don't know. And I get it. Lily is can be divisive at times. I get when someone can be mean on the internet to you, but at the same token, what I did with Lily was a mental health video advocating for people to go to therapy, advocating for trauma survivors, like how to cope with those things. I purposely didn't mention any of the other TF2 people in the video because it wasn't about them. It was about having resources available for people who have not had a fun time, and passing along my knowledge that I've learned dealing with all the terrible trauma that I've had to deal with because of bronies. So I guess I'm almost done, and then Lauren, you can kind of give it from your perspective because Lauren is also on the team. So instead of that, Josh and I talked some more, and that was where I said the same thing I'm saying now. We need an outline. I guess what happened is Josh and Dr. Wolf didn't talk about what I talked to him about, and Dr. Wolf, basically didn't give me an option, and he was just like, well, people feel that, you should leave or whatever, and I'm like, what people? And he would try to be like, oh, well, if you want to do a Dr. Wolf moment, and that way you can leave. Things like that. And my biggest frustration with all of this is, there was feedback about me not being on the team anymore. And again, I don't know where this was coming from besides the general members. There was no structure established with me, and they handled it really poorly. And then Lauren, I'm going to let you jump in and tell it from your perspective.
When this was all kind of going down, I guess, I was kind of sort of out of the loop on a lot of things, but I was trying to piece things together from KP and from other people involved. And again, this is just me being kind of more or less an eyewitness to what things were going on too. And I remember at the time going like, I just wanted to figure out what was going on and hear all sides. And just because it was something where I'm kind of like KP in the park of where I record lines. And actually, but except I do actually once in a blue moon play TF2, but nowadays I rarely.
Maybe we can ironically play it for a live stream or something. Maybe that could be the silver lining out of all of this.
Yeah, and it's funny because the role, and everybody jokes that the role I always wanted to have was the spy, but and to this day I still think it's the coolest role, but in the end, I'm still just better as a soldier. But anyway, as I come to learn.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. But yeah, at the time when this was all kind of going down, I was still, we were kind of, we'd been hanging out and we'd been doing the podcast and stuff. And I know KP was getting really frustrated and upset with things because people were she felt like she wasn't being heard on things, and I totally get that. So I was just like, I just want to figure out what's going on.
I'll jump in, and I also want to say, especially nowadays, I didn't want to take sides with Lauren. I just kind of wanted her to here's what I'm dealing with. You're obviously in the server,
but I mean, yeah, because I'm like, I'm not here to be against anyone at all. This is just, again, to be an eyewitness account. I'm prefacing this because also coming from a perspective of somebody who was literally caught in the middle of of the whole like Dan Avidan crossfire thing,
Stuck in the middle,
which we've
with
talked about in the
you.
previous one.
Yeah, we talked about that.
We talked about in the
yeah.
And how I tried to take the neutral stance of saying, well, there's like 2 pieces of evidence of this thing even happening, and a lot of it's hearsay, and it's not even fully reliable. We have to wait till more comes out, and people got mad at me thinking I was taking the side of a potential pedophile, and I wasn't, because I'm like, there is literally no grounds. I'm literally saying, until we have more proof, let us wait and see. Maybe a statement. I don't know, but... it's just because there's so many instances where people jump on this bandwagon of like when something happens and there's even just a smidgen of like a rumor, immediately people take that as fact and run with it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's suddenly no grounds for innocent until proven guilty. I mean, that's what the justice system is supposed to do. So
that's for another podcast.
I mean, but then everything runs seemingly on the grounds of Ace Attorney rules, where it's like 3 days to prove you're innocent, otherwise you're guilty and thrown in jail. But or whatever. Objection. But anyway, back to this was at the time I was just trying to piece together things. I tend to be a person that when things like this are going down, I just try to find the answers to things. And seeing and following the crumb trail as to why things happen and who is getting involved and who's saying what, just so I'm trying to understand the situation as best as possible, because that's what I'm used to doing. Is I'm more of a mediator in a lot of situations with people. So and so when I was trying to go into the server, not so much the server as it was, I guess, the Skype group,
to
see what was going down. I was trying to go
weird. Anyway.
Yeah, so I tried to go in and be like, hey, KP's kind of like really upset right now, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on, but if there is some kind of like confrontational thing going on, I just am trying to figure out, what's going down, and that, you should hear her piece. I feel like she's not being heard, and I just don't know what's going on. And I'm just trying to understand all this. And it was, at the time when I jumped in, I guess it was already very heated. So it was just like, I was trying to go in with good intentions, and
was this before or after? Was this before or after the Dr. Wolf sent me like that super nasty message?
This was after. I believe this. Yes, this was after Dr. Wolf.
Do you remember?
But
what was the gist of that? Essentially, you're acting entitled or something, right? I don't know. I can find it, but
it just seemed like it was not giving you enough room to be able to state your case on things and being able to explain yourself, and you were like, it just felt like the door was being shut and you'd had no chance to really explain anything. So I think that's what it was. And again, it's a lot of just, for a lot of these kinds of situations, and as the group came to learn after, was like it's a matter of having proper communication between all members.
Yeah, that's the biggest,
That's the number one thing, and I will die on the hill of make sure you're talking to people, whoever you're working with, and make sure you hear everybody out, because then issues like this can be avoided. And I feel like after that, it seems like communication's been better, at least with the current team members, so that's been good. But it was rocky at that time, and especially when I was somebody who is kind of sort of like next thing above KP in terms of like where I record lines, but even though I play the game, I record lines, but I don't consistently hang out on the Skype or anything like that. But I will interact with the other team members in other ways.
Random question: have you ever gotten yelled at for the thing I got yelled at, where you're not writing enough scripts?
I never had to write scripts, so.
Imagine that.
I did say I could. I offered that. I said I could participate in script writing or proofreading or anything like that, because I'm kind of a grammar Nazi in that respect. So I'm like, if anything, I could help with some things like that, but nothing ever came of it, and that's fine, honestly, because my schedule is just bleh.
Yeah.
So so it's better for me to just like but actually. Technically, I do a little script writing, but it's mostly just for lines for myself. Mm-hmm. If it's like there are lines written for me, it's almost like, can you proofread these, make sure these sound a little bit more like you? Or there are some lines here I'm trying to figure out what for you to say here. And there was, and I scratch that. There has been an instance where I got to write pretty much all of my dialogue for it, and it's in an episode that hasn't been released yet. But that was good, because at least it was like saying, here's some pre-written dialogue here. How would you answer to each of these, responses? I'm like, okay, that's fine. I can do that. I can work with that. Because even then, after I would do my response, some of the answers would be tweaked accordingly. And so there was a bit better communication on that end. So I think it's like, going forward, things have been learned in regards especially to script writing as a team. So and especially when I'm like, that's pretty much the extent of my script writing. That was writing lines for myself and with my interactions with the other team members. But in writing whole scripts, I have not done that. So I guess technically, to answer that, it's like, I've written pieces of script, but I have not written whole scripts.
Okay, so anyway, so I talked to so this is after the second time I talked to Josh, and I outlined those guidelines, and he agreed those were fair. And then I talked to Brunt the second time, and was like, I want to find, or the first time, and I was like, same thing I told Josh, can we find some structure for this? But it seemed like the decision was already made. So, I think I tried to contact him. I don't remember exactly, but I think I tried to contact him again to talk about it, and this is what he said. After much discussion with several team members, we've decided that we're going to move forward without KP. I've had a very extensive conversation with her on this matter both last week and last night. Her lack of involvement with the series, aside from the occasional recordings over the past few years, among other matters, I don't feel like I should address here, has made a number of team members upset. Several have requested to have KP removed from TF2 analysis. But in the end, this was my decision to make. Moving forward, with Red vs. Flu, we have made the changes, so they cut me from the script. After discussing the possibilities, we've decided to move forward without directly mentioning her absence. This is not the first time we removed a character without explanation, and while confusing for fans here and there, we believe is the best option for overall given past experience. Please do let me know if you have any more questions. So, that was a hot mess, and I don't think that was the message he sent to me. I think that was the message he dropped. Yeah. Okay, that was the message he dropped in the group. This is what I said right before this privately. I said, I'll leave it at this. I was under the impression that these issues were with Josh. We should have solidified ideas about how at the pace I was going to contribute, but we didn't. And I understood that my one script was going to contribute. My one script and continued voiceover was enough. But in my recent call with Josh, I thought the issue was rectified. I told him to think about how he wanted to define my future work, and he wanted me to lay low for a little bit, which I agreed to. These issues seem between me and Josh. In my most recent call with you, my understanding is that we agreed for me to depart with others that wanted to as well, because you were not satisfied with my goals, which I still agreed to. So now you're telling me that multiple people have issues and are not willing to talk to me directly about it. You're telling me that people have been upset over years and never told me about it. That's not right, and that's not okay. That is what I'm talking about earlier. This kind of working environment is unsafe and not acceptable. It leads to gossip harboring and hurtful behavior. Frankly, where did we leave off? Frankly, if people have opinions, they should talk to me directly. My door is open, but I will not tolerate people being malicious enough to gossip about me, but not bring it up to me directly. I will not tolerate people's general disdain for me affecting their types of discussions. I don't want and refuse to be forced out the door early because people just don't want to talk to me directly. That's childish, ethically not right, and incredibly disappointing. I'll let you discuss all this with the appropriate parties to rectify this, to discuss if their disdain is due to personal feelings or not. I'm not sure if it's linked to, rumor bullshit that's influenced their opinions, so that's what I'm referencing, and how this has affected my decision. I need to walk away for now, and this is what he said. This is the gross one. I am sincerely sorry you feel upset over this, KP. I have hoped that our understanding of each other last week that we could part ways gracefully, but reading through your last message has convinced me that I should need to take a far more blunt approach. What you describe about having everyone who has grievances with you to speak to you directly in hopes of working things out at this point is asking too much. So he's enabling lack of confrontation. The value you've added to the series over the years is now clearly outweighed by the deterrent to keep you on. You feel cheated right now. Your circumstances are unfair. And from the conversation I had with you last week and all the text messages this evening, I'm still not convinced that you care about the series at all. Only what being a part of it would bring to your online presence. So he's assumingly blaming my ego for me still wanting to be on the series without really any direct evidence. I think the most I said was, it's still good for me to be on so people can see my pony face and, I'm still involved in that community, but it was never about my ego. Like, Lauren, do I have an ego?
I think everybody has an ego, but you do not have like an ego going like, blah, look at me. It's more like, I think it's funny because the interpretation of ego always has a negative connotation. With ego, it's just saying you have a sense of self, really. So I in that regard, you have a strong sense of self. But in terms of being like, look at me,
like
and
a
only
diva,
me and nobody else, yeah, like you don't have that.
Okay.
So
yeah, and Lauren is a third party. I didn't bribe her to say that, and that's why I put her on the spot.
Yeah, no, I'm literally here to I'm literally here to make sure that KP has a place to.
Tell me I don't have an ego, Lauren. So... I have a gun. you
don't. I swear.
Okay, I'm gonna keep on going.
Like if look, let's be real here. If KP was a pain to work with, I wouldn't be here. So
you think people would get that at this point, but no one listens.
I think that should be the best evidence, is that if she was a pain, I wouldn't be here right now, letting her speak her piece. So
oh Lord. Anyway, if I was such a pain to work with, I wouldn't have people that stay on the team for like multiple years at a time. Like, come on, guys. Yeah, it's not rocket science.
Proof's in the pudding.
Okay, I'm gonna keep on going. We're trying to make this light, even though it's sad. Okay, this is the equivalent of being an employee who does not want the minimum amount of work necessary and being surprised that she's told she's being let go. I've received a number of requests to remove you from the series. I don't know who those from. In the end, this is my decision to make. I was willing to listen to your suggestions last week and even entertain the possibility of still working with you on a different project. I can see now that there's no longer a worthwhile pursuit. I do not know if every grievance others have over your behavior, KP, nor is it really my place to try and help you fix them. But even at my best, it is clear to me now that the effort it would take to rectify with you over the matter would cost far more than any potential benefit. Again, I tried one more time to talk about it with Josh, and Josh blamed me for wanting to rectify the friendship or something. And again, this ego thing that I don't really understand where it's coming from, and also that these people are not really giving me the benefit of the doubt. Or they're convinced that, oh, KP has an ego, KP's mean, so they can justify doing all this shitty shit. And I just can't tolerate it anymore, and I just can't tolerate and things that I realize, like, in hindsight, is there was a lot of gossip about me and a lot of like people comparing subscriber numbers to me, and like who does that? Like, it's just like, at the end of the day, this could have been rectified with clearer communication, essentially. Like, I don't know, besides the lack of scripts, which again, it only seems to be an issue with me and not other people, from my understanding. But anyway, besides the lack of scripts and lack of definement for how much they wanted me to contribute, I think they just thought that, like, everyone should be friends because we are in a Skype group and everyone should get along. And, like, that's not realistic. That's not realistic, and that's not safe, frankly, in some ways, because, there could be some icky people just hanging out, and, imagine that, that there was that one time. Like, I won't bring that up too much, but you can see how these kind of situations can play out. And what I'm really just hurt by is the fact that at the end of the day, like, these people weren't really my friends. Like, they would gossip about me a lot. They would compare subscriber numbers. They weren't really, like, I remember an instance where I asked Silver about advice for what to do to BronyCon before I dropped that letter, and he said do nothing. And I'm like, okay, fine, but that's not going to solve the problem. So I released the press statement anyway, and he bitched about it to Josh that I didn't take his advice, not asking me about it, not asking me why, like, and that really pisses me off. Like, I want to be able to have a safe environment, and I thought these, like, people understood, like, all the shit I've been through and wanted to try to, like, make sure it didn't happen again. But I was wrong, and it just really sucks, and I just don't have any patience. Like, I'm running out of patience for people like this, and I'm running out of patience for children not behaving like, or adults behaving like children and not talking to each other. Like, I don't know how much of the stupid Bogazy rumors that, like, other people in the chat were influenced by. I have no idea, because I didn't know who was talking to me, and I didn't know what the problems were beyond me not contributing to the scripts, besides maybe just not talking in the Skype group or whatever. So I don't know, like, and it just makes you feel like they didn't really care to fix the issues. It was just about the perception. And also, it really pisses me off that they thought the best idea the best idea to handle this, or the best way to handle this, is just cut me from the scripts and hope no one notices. Like, that's pretty.
When the end result of that was months and months and months and months and months of TF2 content coming out, and all the streams, all the live chats being filled with, where's KP? Where's KP? Oh, I think I know KP is gonna come. Maybe she teamed up with Anthony. Maybe that's gonna be the twist. Like, not even realizing that KP wasn't coming back. It was almost like it had to be addressed at some point, and in a manner where more people were going to be able to hear it at the same time. And it's like saying, okay, well, here's your answer, is that KP isn't involved anymore. And because you don't want to say anything in the live chat, because then first of all, it gets drowned out anyway, because those things move at lightning speed because of how many people comment. But then it's also just that it's only to a few people versus to many people, because depending on who's paying attention to the comments section, it had to be addressed at some point. Like, it's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Especially if it's happening to every single release, that where's KP, even after months and months of it. It's like, and people are still asking. I mean, that says a lot about your presence on the team.
Yeah.
And in the videos, is that people were like, hey, where'd she go? There's got to be a bigger reason that she's gone. Like, maybe she's, again, like in the storyline, maybe she's teamed up with Anthony or something. So people were starting to have headcanons and theories about where you went. So
too much effort, guys. Too much.
So I think that says a lot, though, about how, even though with how you say your involvement was, I was doing lines, like, I guess you could say you were pulling a Delancey, is that people still saw your involvement as profound enough and impactful enough that they're like, well, the moment she's gone, where'd she go? You were there a long time. So
yeah, and like that's also the reason I held off doing this for so long is because is exactly what is happening now. I did not want to throw people under the bus, because I know that, I know Josh and I know Silver, and I know they get shit because of just being YouTubers and not handling certain situations correctly. Like, we all get shit. So I didn't want to give them more shit to deal with. I didn't want to be like, oh, well, it was because of their lack of communication and lack of boundaries. And I mean, maybe not lack of boundaries, but lack of, direct confrontation with issues. Like, I have no idea how many of the TF2 members think I'm like a slave driving whore monster or what the fuck ever. like, and the fact that they're even like, the fact that, they might even be entertaining those thoughts in general, like, I don't feel safe, and I get frustrated because, I like, these are environments I want to feel safe with. I think, after, I remember, going to BronyCon after I got hospitalized, and I'm hoping it made me feel better. It did for the most part, but like, there was a rumor that got started because I was in a really shitty mood the second night because I didn't eat, and the whole day.
Which BronyCon was this?
This
by
was
the way?
2016. This was
Okay, so
this
yeah,
is when
the only time I ever went to BronyCon was 2019, and that's when I met
No,
you.
this
was
is
the very
this is
last
this
one.
is not one that you were present for. But anyway, essentially, he who has not been named was there, and the server got my order wrong, and I was really snappy, and I yelled at the server, and then like, I got rumors about, oh, KP is just such a bitch, and she's just a diva. And, not knowing the context of the information that, they got my order wrong. Everyone was already eating before I got my order, so I had to wait even more. It was 7 o'clock at night on the second day of a con, and I hadn't eaten all day. So I was, I feel like I have the right to be cranky when they get my order
And you
wrong.
were you were vending all day, I assume, right? You were at like a table.
In
No?
16,
At that one?
maybe I was vending, but I definitely was running around. I mean, as you do
Yeah,
for.
because it's draining, especially at BronyCon, which is the biggest one. So it's like, it's understandable to.
Yeah, and I'll be
I
the
mean,
first
even
to tell you, like, when I get tired at cons, I will be cranky and like not to take it personally. But the fact that I was like told, it's like, it's okay, this is a safe place, and that it wasn't a safe place pisses me off. This is
Yeah,
the cape, everything that pisses me off. You know what really grinds my gears, Lauren? Anyway.
you know what really grinds my gears. But yeah, it's like, that's why when I actually tell people, it's like, it's, if people have to tell me something, I'm like, you're safe to talk to me about it, because it's like, I promise you I won't judge, because I get the feeling. I get the feeling when people feel like there is no safe place to talk about anything, and I want to be that person, because it's like, because I get the feeling. I've been there, and it sucks when it feels like it's been betrayed. So I mean, it's like, so that's why it's like, when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's just like, yeah, again, I'm not the gossiper. I just try to, like, especially when it comes down to like situations like this, I just try to like figure out what the heck's going on. And so it's like, if I get like information, I go, well, I just want to be able to keep whatever's private, and respect that privacy. But at the same time, I go, well, if this person really needs help and nobody is hearing them out, I want to be able to understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's not going out of malice or anything like that to go against anybody. It's literally just out of understanding and trying to understand. And I get that's again, when I came into this whole situation, I was trying to understand things, especially on your behalf, going, well, she's upset, like really upset, and I really want to be able to try and help her. But at the same time, I also want to understand what's going on over here, because I'm not as heavily involved every day with this kind of stuff. And so I'm just like, I just want to understand what's going on. Is there stuff that I'm not in the know about? Which I'm sure there's plenty of that. And that's okay. That's not my business and some of those things. But it's, especially when it's affecting other things outside of TF2. I'm like, because it was affecting recordings for the podcast and affecting channel stuff. I'm like, yeah, this is kind of heavy. So what's going on?
Yeah, if memory serves,
then when it has effects outside of the team, yeah, that's when it starts having. That's when you have to go, okay, what's going on here? Because I really want to make sure that I'm helping her at the same time as I'm understanding what's going on here, because I'm involved here too, even if it's not on an everyday basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if memory serves, that original Dr. Wolf message triggered me, and then I was like crying to Laura, and I was just like, man, they're so mean. I mean, I'm butchering it now to not get the mood down, I guess, but like, man, like, everyone's mean to me, Lauren. Like, I don't understand. Like, was it me? Did I do this, or are they just being assholes? And Lauren's like, Pat, they're just being butts. So I'll try to help.
So it's like, I'm like, basically, I'm just like, here, I'll hear you out on this, just vent it, and just like, okay, now it's time for me to kind of figure out what's going on, because somehow I'm missing a lot of things here, and I want to figure out the best way I can help you and understand and be understood by everybody else involved. Not again, it's like and even like Chrissy can vouch on me. I'm not the person to go in and start a fight for anything. But if a friend is wronged or feels wronged, I try to go in and try to speak on their behalf, or I try to go and understand things on their behalf, because I'm like, okay, the moment you start messing with them, and I've known them and especially with like Chrissy, I've known her for almost 14 years, is that like when you know somebody well enough or you work with them on a regular basis and you go, well, I know that's not the situation. So it's like, what's going on? What's really going on? And I just try to go in and understand. So I just remember at the very least, it wasn't like I went in and everybody was trying to pile on me or anything like that. But I just know that some nerves were touched because I came in on the conversation and it seemed like I was coming in without context or whatnot, because I just suddenly got in there. But at the very least, it was nice when other team members came to me and go, you're totally fine. Don't worry. Like, we totally get where you're coming from with this. And so,
like, yeah. And
so at least it wasn't like the entire team. There were definitely some good eggs in there, and for you good eggs, I love you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Shout out to Finn and Jasper, who are the goodest eggs, and Will. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, too, like like bronies talk a big talk about, love and tolerance and the whole thing. But in reality, as like my experiences have been, sometimes they don't do that if it's easier to avoid the issue, or because, at the end of the day, bronies are nerds. Nerds are introverted. Nerds do not like conflict. So when you have all these big things going on and big projects, and there's a whole bunch of people that don't like confrontation, then these problems are going to happen and people are going to get hurt.
And this is coming from two nerds who learn that and know from experience how vital communication is. So just to clarify, we too are in the same party. So
yeah, and I've kind of been bred at this point, like with all my shit, like to protect myself and my brain, to enable like direct confrontation, and I am very direct in nature as a person, so I can just get to the bottom of the issues faster, and everyone can be relatively honest with me in return. It's just like when I see shit like this happening, like it just, especially like also when I am not the person dealing with it, when I have to deal with it from other people, then I'm just like, man, these are adults. Like, what the hell? Like, you guys can have clear conversations. You don't have to blame it. Like, I remember like there was the thing that happened with the con head who was like, I was trying to get to the bottom of something, and he was just like, well, KP, you still treat people badly, and I don't think anything's changed, so that enables me to treat you this way. And I'm just like, first of all, what? Second of all, where's your source for this? Third of all, you're an adult. Like, I'm not saying it's not okay to have concerns, fine, but like using those kind of petty excuses to justify petty behavior is ridiculous and stupid. It makes me mad.
It's like, you drank blue milk. Blue is my least favorite color. I'm
How
canceling
dare
you.
How dare you drink blue milk?
I mean, it's like we joke about this, but there's literally people out there who will take any reason to hate on somebody as that's how it is. And so I'm like, I mean, I know that's not the majority, but there's an uncomfortable too many people that try to use very small excuses to like grand slam cancel somebody.
Right.
And it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I always get that shit thrown at me when, maybe not so much anymore, but I always get that thrown at me when people try to justify their shitty decisions, and I'm just like, where's your proof, Jan? And they're just like, oh, well, we don't have any. I'm like, well then shut the fuck up. So, and like that's kind of my
I
attitude.
heard from a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. Okay, well, that's not reliable. That's a game of telephone.
It's fucking stupid. And like we live in an age where anyone can make up anything. Like, check your fucking sources. Like, you learned that in middle school?
And I'm like, if I have to keep referring to it, don't make me tap the sign, refers to the Dan Avidan situation. Because literally everything of that was either stuff that was taken out of context, like the video that they used for, quote, evidence of like Dan doing a sexting thing, was literally a video from the NSP Snapchat that was sent to, people who followed the NSP Snapchat, with Dan being in character. Because guess what? Danny Sexbang is not Dan Avidan. That's a stage presence, that's a character, and it's a whole little parody of the whole 80s rockers being sex icons, kind of like obsessed with sex. That's why the whole premise exists. I mean, that's a huge reason why the whole premise exists the way it does for NSP. So it's just like Ninja Brian. Brian's not a ninja. Hate to spoil it to you people.
I have no idea who she's talking about. Like, I know, like,
I'm talking about Dan Ninja Sex Party.
Okay, yeah.
Between Dan Avidan and Brian Wecht, who have been friends for a very long time, have done NSP together, and Brian dresses up like a ninja, and Danny calls himself Danny Sexbang. So that's why I said, again, those are characters, and that was Danny being in character on the NSP Snapchat or whatever the video was from. It was in character. And then all the other stuff was like all made up, and it was all hearsay, and saying, oh, the person, the victim said that she granted permission for this information to be shared, or for this video to be shared, when it was literally not even hers. And then the person that was in question didn't even exist. So it was all a fabrication from a hate subreddit. And then I'm just like, oh, cool, this is just like Amber Heard all over again, where people were believing her until proof came out that she was the abuser and Johnny Depp was the one being abused. Wow, what a shock.
I hate everything.
And anyway, importance of look for sources, verify the evidence. That's why use your critical thinking skills, guys. This is why I love like freaking like CSI kind of stuff, because it's like, okay, we're going to go down into the details, and we want to make sure, okay, when was this posted? That negates what happened in this person's testimony. And I'm literally, okay, this is also Ace Attorney, but anyway.
Objection.
Objection.
I guess in closing, do I think any of these people are bad? No. Do I think they have somewhat poor social skills? Kind of. Do I think they all need therapy? Probably not a bad idea. Just because, I don't think they realize that this is not how you handle conflicts and how you deal with things. And, again, it bothers me, like, even before this, if a lot of people had negative views about me, like, and they couldn't talk to me about it, or they didn't want to talk to me about it, like, what I don't know how we fix that. If like you can't like my at the end of the day, you can't solve problems you don't know about. So I'm not sure if it's just like go ahead, Lauren.
I was gonna say, like, to go off that point of people, like, even if you met this person for the first time and they already have this like idea in your head of you because of the hearsay stuff, and I remember I think it was like when I first met you, I remember I was not in the know of any of the whole I guess you could say the he who must not be named, the other one.
Yeah, the other one, the child. The bad child.
Yes.
Not the good child, not the cute one.
I was not in the know of what was going on there. All I knew is that, like, from like a very, very base level, that there had been stuff going on with KP. And I remember first meeting you, and I'm like, I remember there was, I guess, some kind of a hubbub about her, but it immediately was like thrown out the window because we started connecting. I'm like, I don't get what anybody's nervous about. You're chill, you're cool, I like you, you're awesome. So
yeah,
just like,
I appreciate it. Yeah. And that's kind of the thing is, like, I think a lot of that was just, jealousy. It's been on record that, Josh and some of the others, like, had this kind of negative behavior, and, it bothers me if they were really supposed to be my friends, like, I never I made a point not to talk to Lily about Josh stuff and that kind of thing, because I didn't I felt like I didn't know enough about the he say she said, and I know it's been painful for both of them, but also like the fact that I wasn't trusted because people just have their blind sights on and just like, oh, KP's doing the Lily thing, she's going to the dark side, and I'm just like, hey, why don't you ask me about it instead of just assuming things? Thank you. So
That's why communication's important, guys.
communication.
If you have an issue, talk to the person about it. Don't go around the back streets and backwards ways to go talk to other people about somebody when it's literally you could just go to the person themselves and ask them about it.
Yeah. So
and be respectful about it.
Lily,
because guess what? Hanging at people with a steaming pile of hate isn't gonna exactly get your point across right away.
Yeah. And Lily and I are different people, and Lily and I are not going to have the same opinion about everything. And, I make a point to stay neutral in things I don't understand or know, the whole story about, because that's, the politically correct thing you do. So, same thing if people are collaborating with, no fun people that I know. I doubt unless they do know the bad thing and they do it anyway, then they probably don't know the bad thing and they just assume everything's fine. And I'm not just hey, man, they did the thing with the gross person, how dare they? Don't they know? They don't know. They don't know,
It's guarantee you that for a lot of those kinds of situations, especially when it's does this person even know? Most of the time they're not going to know if there's something that's out of their concept. Some people have done collabs with other people and there have been stuff that's gone down and the collaborator doesn't know. So I mean, I guess also at the same time, to a degree, researching who you're collabing with is important, but at the same time verify what you're researching as well, instead of it being oh, this is, make sure you can tell, oh, this is just gossip. This was just rumors being spread around versus, oh, this person was literally confirmed by law as a pedophile or something like that. So it's so it's again, check your sources, check the information, verify the evidence, all that kind of stuff. And that goes for anything. Because otherwise, if you're going down hearing, I heard it through the grapevine, that's not your best source. This is about as effective as saying, going to a Disney characters wiki and saying, oh, Gaston is actually a pretty good guy, saying it on the wiki. You should probably question that given who the person was or something,
Gaston's fine.
Gaston was actually not a bad guy. He went to go kill the beast with good intentions. Did
the
Gaston
beast was
write
a cannibal. This? It's fine. No one noticed. It's fine. No, my favorite thing is the 2016 or 17 Beauty and the Beast. I don't remember, when everyone's complaining about LeFou being gay and but other people were just this is a movie about bestiality. I think we have bigger I mean, it's not, but you know what I mean.
Exactly. Oh my god. I guess it's also kind of like what happened with Onward, and when the one Cyclops cop character mentioned she has a girlfriend. Stupid. And I'm and literally I think, what was it, Saudi Arabia banned the film just for the one reference to girlfriend, when the rest of the film it's never brought up again. The character's really never seen again. I'm really, you have bigger fish to fry than this one throwaway line that the actress literally said, can I say this? And Pixar's sure, why not?
We'll get there eventually. So, in closing, though, I hate to say this, but in some cases it's justified. But if you guys see anyone being mistreated, not specifically me, and people aren't really doing anything about it, and you have enough proof, please be vocal, because I don't think anyone's gonna learn their lesson if they don't realize that what they did is not Hakuna. And, everything's said and done, I will grit my teeth and do
Did you say it's not Hakuna?
Not Hakuna. Yeah, not Hakuna.
What about Matata?
Shut up, Lauren. Anyway, and worst case, I will grit my teeth and do lines to phase out my character if that, because like not for them, but for you, the fans, if that is something that can be arranged. But at this point, I am totally out and I'm totally not doing anything, and I think everyone hates me because I called out the issues with the project and or I kill puppies or something. And I'm just done dealing with children. So I just hope these lessons sink in, and it frustrates me when people characterize me badly. And I wish I didn't have to talk about like my stupid bad bullshit all the time, but it's affected a lot of things in my life and a lot of my relationships and a lot of my conventions still. I mean, not so much anymore with the death of pony conventions for the most part. But, it's been a thing I've had to deal with, and that's why I hate the child the most, is he couldn't even bother to clean up his mess because he's a coward. Or help pay for any of my therapy bills or my hospital bills or anything, because, life sucks. So, I guess the moral of the story is have healthy communication with your friends. Don't enable their lack of confrontation, because that is a bad thing to enable. People.
And let me say straight up, like, me, I usually am like, I don't lose my cool right. It takes a lot for me to lose my cool.
Yeah.
And I remember, a little while back, something triggered me in particular, and it was like a stupid thing. And I remember immediately, because Christy was involved, she pulled me aside, was like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, this isn't like you to act like this." And I like literally just broke down and cried, because it was just like there was just too much going on in my life at the time, and it was starting to come across in like the little things where I was trying to suppress so much that it suddenly came out in the weirdest way. And after that, it didn't happen again. But it was just like, just knowing that there was a good friend to pull me aside and go, "Hey, are you okay? You need to talk to somebody, because it's like, this isn't like you, and I know you. This isn't like you. So what's going on?" And just knowing that, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not okay. Like, being able to be open about that and just making sure the communication was clear on that helped immensely, because then Chrissy was able to help me, and then and I'd be able to do the same with other people when I can tell when something's up and go, "Hey, are you okay? Something's off." And they've been able to do that with me too. And again, I'm not here to talk people's private stuff. I'm just here to say, communication's important, because then a whole lot gets solved if you just talk.
Yeah.
I know some things are not easy to talk about, so yes, you have to talk about them with the right people. But in terms of like other general things, like if you're working on a team with other people, and you're not talking to other people, no, don't just talk to people, especially if they're going to be working directly with them. You got to talk. So, and then you can avoid a whole bunch of other issues if you just talk,
Yeah, and as well as if you're intimidated by people, because that is a thing that happens with YouTubers, or that's a thing that happens with YouTubers. You might get intimidated to talk to someone that you respect if you're starting to have a now friendship relationship with them, as long as it's not forced. Please don't be creepy. Then you can get someone in the middle, or you can, like you can get a third party to jump in the conversation. Or, like there's ways to work around it, but don't let the fact that you're intimidated by someone affect your confrontation and your discussion skills, because again, you're worth bringing your problems up, if they're not if they're not addressed any other way. And another thing that pisses me off is people just like, "I'm not worthy, like I don't want to bother people." Usually they have an outlet if you don't want to bother them, like they have like we have people on the team. That way, also people can complain about me or something I'm doing, and then I can hear about it in a way that's not like accusatory, I guess. but, not that that happens, but, there are ways to solve these issues, so I don't know. I don't have anything else. This has just been a sad episode that we had to explain, so please,
So for more uplifting content like this, please like, share, subscribe.
Yeah, please.
Click the notification bell.
Whatever. Yeah.
Trust me. I know. Trust me, guys. Don't worry. If this, you know what? I'm gonna be real. This better not be anybody's first episode of the podcast because I'm like, you could have started with a much lighter topic than this, guys.
No,
we
I
literally
feel like it
have
might
Chris
be
Sonnenberg from Tangled.
I feel like it might be because people don't even know the podcast exists, but they've been asking this question. Like, finally, they can answer. I can have an answer to this question, where we discuss it in length, and
Well, either way, it's like, okay, if you get your answers here, cool. Otherwise, we got palate cleanser episodes. Otherwise, that surround this one.
Yeah.
So you got plenty of content to work with, guys.
Yeah, if you're into that, I guess I hope with the release of this gets solved in a way that is not too messy. Just
and again, we're not coming out here to pick fights.
This was not our first option.
No, this was after, and this is after a long
this was
time of things,
our fourth option. So
yeah, fourth or fifth, something like that, maybe even sixth, because it's just been we've been trying to I guess you could say, just trying to make sure that things have been resolved as best as possible, in the best possible way, in the healthiest possible way. But after hundreds and literally hundreds of comments going, "Where's KP?" you gotta kind of go, okay, well, we gotta have an answer, and we this is basically how we can do it, and at the same time, we're not trying to get anybody to
we don't want to hate mob.
We're not trying,
but
we don't want to. Yeah, we're not trying to incite anything. We just want to provide some information as to a little background as to what happened. And so again, don't come for the TF2 team or anything like that, because again,
this is
involved
also
with
not
the team, and I'm not here to call out anybody. It's just this was from months ago, so this is really more just a response to how people have been asking what happened to KP and why she's not in the videos anymore and that kind of stuff. And then so it was, again, just trying to be an explanation, and also to try and be a lesson about communication. We're going to keep repeating this word. Take a shot every time. Take a shot every time we say communication. No, please don't.
Yeah. I'm just like I said, I'm just hoping, share this video for people who don't know, and like I said, maybe we can have a closing in a way that isn't just fucking cutting me out of the fucking video. But if this is it too, then that's fine. I just wanted people to be aware and just to call out the mistakes. And again, I didn't want to throw anyone under the bus, but the bus was there, and the bus was the only option. So.
Yeah,
drink to that.
And yeah, and again, it's at least as of right now, at least with my interactions with the team, it's all good. So I think the best way to describe how I try to be with everybody around me is I'm a capybara, which is the one animal that is no matter what environment you put them in, you try to make friends with everybody or just be chill with everybody. Because it's just that's pretty much how I try to be. Is you've probably seen what I'm talking about, KP, is the capybara. It's like a giant guinea pig that you could see it chilling with crocodiles and ducks and
we had a conversation about that
whole variety of animals.
Before the
my
podcast.
goal in life is to be my goal in life is to be a capybara, just the type of person where it's just to be there to get along with everybody, because guess what? Everybody's different. Everybody's going to process things differently. Everybody has different opinions and thought processes. So the best thing you can do is work with them as best as possible. But also, yeah, like KP said, you see something up and you have enough proof, that's an important thing. If you see something that seems wrong and you have evidence, solid evidence of it being confirmed, then yeah, you can call it out, because otherwise it goes unchecked. We're kind of... and this is also in the whole realm of cancel culture thing that I'm trying to speak out on that too, because people, again, jump to conclusions without proper evidence. They only go off hearsay or rumors on the internet, and it's like, I'm real tired. I know it's never going to really fully stop because there's going to be people always looking to start a fight. But doing the best you can with, like, checking things, verifying things, maybe even talking directly to the person if you can and saying, hey, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
I heard this, I've been seeing this, so I don't know. Can you confirm what's going on? And hopefully you're gonna get, like, especially when, like, KP, she'll tell you the honest answer of what's going on. So
yeah, I don't tolerate any bullshit. So
that's why it's like, yeah, just the best thing you do is don't take any back avenues when trying to get answers. It's like you can talk to the people directly, and then you just go talk to other people who might have been involved directly, if it's okay to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if it's not any of your personal business, then you should probably not get involved in it. But at the same time, if there's a certain degree of, like, you're just trying to check things, then, do your best to approach it with your best judgment. Because, yeah, again, some people get involved in other people's business and it's not theirs. But
yeah, I think we're beating a dead horse or a dead pony. So
yeah, I know, but it's like some people have to. I feel like I have to clarify so many things, and you're trying to go, like, I'm trying not to make sure, like, do this, but also be careful, but also this. But it's because I'm, like, trying to shut off all of these. I'm tying up loose ends.
yeah, like,
I know,
be vocal,
I ramble.
but don't
I'm sorry.
harass.
This
people,
is what
guys.
podcasts are for, right?
Yeah, be vocal, but don't. Yeah, be vocal, but not respectful, but be vocal, but, like, don't harass people or call anyone bad names.
Yeah. Again, we're not looking for people to dogpile on anybody. This was just to be an explanation and to be almost a cautionary tale of, like, be communicative.
Yeah.
Communication's important.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. I don't feel like plugging anything because I don't think this is the right podcast to do it. But the podcast exists if you want to do more, I guess, or whatever.
And I mean, if you found us, you're kind of already in the right place to look for the other stuff. So I feel like we don't need
press the button.
Yeah. So it's like, most likely this took you to either the streaming podcast links, or this probably took you to the YouTube channel. Either way, you got your other material to work with.
Thank you so much for listening to Animation Kimmunication on YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast provider. We are really hoping this show makes a difference in how people view animation and media, as well as giving and providing advice for people all over the world who like or want to join the animation or media industry. If you liked what you heard, please remember to subscribe and rate those 5 stars, as well as tell your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our main YouTube channel, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, and turn those notifications on. My name is Scribbler, and you have been listening to Animation Kimmunication.